Hey there, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted us to get back into painting. If you, for example, stopped, maybe you had a break, or maybe you just want to get back into painting, but whenever you even think about that, you feel like, oh, it just takes so much time, I don't have much time, it probably will take me like 5 hours. So what I want to do today, you can join me as well and paint with me, and we'll turn this into a challenge. And we will use a reference image. You can use your own reference image, I will use mine, but the goal here is to paint quickly. So we can even set a timer, say maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and we will force ourselves to paint quickly. Don't get lost in all the details, just let's capture the main things and just have fun painting. The less time you have, the more loose you paint, and the more fun you have, because you don't get like caught up in all the little details. So today we're going to paint, well, I'm going to paint a beautiful mountain landscape. You can follow along, or you can just take another reference image of your choice and just set a timer and force yourself to finish the painting as quickly as possible. All right, so let's get started. Before we begin, I will just prepare some colors just so I can immediately start working on it. Spray some water on my pens. I sometimes switch around between my watercolors that I already have just so I actually use them. So today I will be using White Nights, and I will be using a little bit of Naples Yellow. Every brand has their own Naples Yellow, so it might look different, whatever you might have if you have Naples Yellow. And then I will also using a little bit of this ultramarine color, maybe even a little bit of this cobalt blue. Let's see, or maybe I will switch around a little bit of that. And then I'll be also using a little bit of maybe a little bit of indigo blue, just a little bit. And I will also mix lots of colors with my Naples Yellow just to have everything like cohesive and harmonious. And then I will also using a little bit of this May green, I think that was how it's called, very super vibrant. So I will be just using that and mixing a little bit of my Naples Yellow just to make it a little bit more natural looking. Maybe even add a little bit of this. Yeah, actually I like to pre-mix colors and use a limited palette because I feel like then everything just looks more cohesive. So here I have another muted color, like it's I think it's called it's Ochis Chrome, I think, green, like a muted green. So we have Naples Yellow, a mix between Naples Yellow and May green. This is this olive type of green mixed with Naples Yellow as well, and we have blues for the sky. All right, let me see. Okay, let's start the timer. And again, the focus is to work quickly. Don't get caught up in all the details. All right, first things first, I think I will start with just a wash of water. Just with a big brush. Also, if you have a big brush, it's automatically you paint faster. So I'm just to make sure that I have water everywhere and I can focus on wet into wet painting. All right, let's see here. Also make sure that when we paint wet into wet, we don't have any pools of water. We want to have everything evenly applied. I'm just using my flat brush here by Casaneo, Da Vinci Casaneo. All right, and then, all right, now I'm going in with my, I think I will start with my Naples Yellow, And I'll apply it somewhere in the center. It's going to be my glow. All the way here down, just goes up. And then I'm going to mix this with my blue color here. Cobalt blue. Again, I'm working very quickly. I'm not focusing on, okay, how do I make this a perfect gradient or a perfect something. I'm focusing really on quickly applying the paint. All right. Maybe even a little bit of Naples yellow, just a little bit more here. Already took like 2 minutes to paint this part. Already too long. I know, that's why it's good to train yourself to work quickly so you don't get caught up. And now we can work on the back side. So I will start with my mountains in the back. They're very diffuse, you barely see any of that. So I'll be using again my cobalt blue, just one pigment. And I think I will focus on, so here maybe I will start around this area, and I'll add some of my very diffused mountains in the back. So you can see I'm just blending them in. Just some pigment here and there. And blend it downwards. Everything's wet into wet, and wet into wet is fun because it's a very loose, you work very loosely and you create so many different effects, and it's just so fun. So this is very, very loose. It will probably diffuse even more once it's dry, so maybe I reapply a little bit of this paint. All right, and then I will do, oops, wrong color. And I will add a little bit more of my cobalt blue. Now I'm increasing some of the pigment. So increase the pigment amount. And now I'm adding another row here. Very loosely, because I want it to be like very, very loose and dreamy in the end. Now I'll add a little bit of my Naples yellow to the mix. Just to have like a green, more like a warmish green happening here. So I'm just dabbing on this color, wet into wet still. Again, I'm going downwards a little bit. You can see it turns from this bluish color into this rather greenish transition here. So I'm just applying it right there. And from there, I will increase again the pigment, ultramarine. Cobalt blue, I mean. And a little bit of Naples yellow. Bit more. And then I start adding again here. So I'm using just pigment, wet into wet. And I'm adding my next mountain somewhere here. So I'm following my reference image loosely just to see where the mountain is. So here, for example, is a mountain. He goes up a little bit and then he goes down, and I'm just adding the structure here that I see. So just like these little soft transitions. I'm just dabbing on the paint to create some texture, and I'll just allow the paint to do its thing. And here on the bottom, I will add even more Naples yellow and maybe even a little bit of green to it. Everything's like, I know sometimes when we spend too much time thinking, everything just starts drying. So I'm just, again, this is a challenge to work quickly and having fun. So I'm mixing between different colors. I'm adding a little bit more of my cobalt blue just to shape this corner a little bit more and reapply some darker areas in my mountain. So you can see there's a little bit of shadow, like some darker areas there. Well, there are shadows. Here a little bit of blue around, so this is going to be a little bit more in focus. I feel like we need a little bit more blue because it's in the background, and usually everything that is further away, it's a little bit cooler and bluer. Okay, I'm already spending too much time here, so this is a bad sign. So I need to move on. Okay, then I'm going in with my Naples yellow. It was my May green that mix with my Naples yellow. Just mix it here into my mountain on the bottom. Maybe add a little bit of this, just move it a little bit downwards. Like so. And just adding some pigment just to add some dimension, because sometimes if it's just one color, it looks just very flat. Here's this kind of like line here. All right, again, I'm spending too much time here. Then I move on to the next row. So here I will be using my green color with a little bit of this yellow, with this Naples yellow, and this is going to be here. A little bit of Naples yellow going here. And goes down. So this is going to be another hill. Again, quick. I'm already spending 10 minutes here, so it's already too long. I still need to paint so much. Here I'm adding my Naples yellow mix. A little bit of this green here. So it's a mixture of everything. And then we can build up the painting even more. So I'm going in with, I will be using my indigo, so a little bit of my green and Naples yellow. And start here, a little bit of outline maybe. It needs to be darker. And I'm going to apply some of the texture. Again, this is very loose. Just dabbing on the paint. Keep a little bit of this greener area in between, like the lighter area, just so there's variety. But these are all the trees that are further away and are not in focus. So here, for example, this is already dry. So I'm going in and soften this edge a little bit. Okay. And I feel like we need a little bit of blue here, because this needs to be still a little bit on the cooler side, because it's still further away, especially also this one, this area and this area. And then we can also add this other area right here. This is the other side, another hill. Here I'm adding a little bit of this grass here, white into wet. There's this little path. Very, very loose. So again, the challenge is to quickly paint and don't get caught up in all the details. Going in with my nipples, with my indigo blue again, and a little bit of green on my brush, and add a little bit of this color here on top, because I want to darken some of the areas. Because you can see there's lots of these trees. In the background, and you only see pretty much the shadows and like the thick green dark color. Be here a little bit, and everything is mixed a little bit with my green, so it's cohesive and more harmonious. And then on this side as well, again mixing it with my other colors. And then wet into wet, I'm adding some of these dots. These are going to be my trees in the background. Well, they are on this little hill, you could say. They're a little bit closer to us, so they're a little bit more in focus, even though they're still relatively blurred out. A little bit of green, because I feel like it's too bluish. So I'm adding a little bit of green to it. And here we have also these little trees on the side, but I feel like I will wait for it, because we're not done here. Then we have little trees here. So I'm just using the tip of my brush to shape those little trees in the foreground. Now leave a little bit of space in between, so we have more dimension. You can see how they are in different areas and not in, so if you focus too much making them in one row, it just looks boring and very unnatural. And here we have this tree here standing, and then here's this one row of trees that looks through. So here, and then a little bit to the side here. Again, we just want to capture this scene. We don't, if sometimes I catch myself sitting too long and really refining everything, and then it's just like, the whole point is really just quickly make a sketch and capture it, what you see. So now I'm using a lot of pigment. You can see it doesn't move at all, like the paint. So here we can also add some trees here again. And then here. So it's been already around 15 minutes. So let's say I will do it in like 20, okay? maybe we'll see. But it just really pushes you, because if you don't have a timer, you just sit there for like 5 hours. And this is where I guess sometimes I get messages where you say I want to paint loosely and everything just looks a little bit too, like, I don't know, like too stiff, I guess. So definitely having a timer helps a lot. So here I'm just reapplying some of these darker areas. And also what helps is to have a reference image in black and white. I feel like this really makes a difference, because sometimes you get so caught up in all these colors and everything that we need to paint that you completely forget like to look through for like lighter and darker colors. So here, for example, oops, I need to make it slightly darker. So it's already dangerous zone because everything is pretty much drying. So I'll be just making sure I'm making it carefully. So I'm using again my green color with my, so I have lots of different mixtures, but I make sure that I always have a little bit the same color in everything, because otherwise it will just look very random. So the colors won't be similar to each other. I'm just adding a little bit of this grass here, and here a little. I'm also adding a little bit of a lighter colors, Naples yellow again. This needs to be a little bit smaller. And also a little bit of something like a little bit of reddish brown, because we have a little bit of like old grass there. Here, for example, and this will also make everything just more natural. Not so we don't have like just green. We have like a little bit of everything here. Here I feel like we need some green. You definitely also need some darker colors here. Some shadows in the grass. So the trees don't like look like they are just, I don't know, in the air. So they're a little bit grounded here. Again, I'm adding a little bit of my brown color here because there's a little bit of this shadow part, a little bit of this other green, brown, a little bit of a cooler version. Just very loosely, again. Okay, we're almost in 20 minutes, I think. And one thing we can do, I think this is also needs a little bit of work because I skipped this part and I feel like it needs to be a little bit brown, like so. So it blends together a little bit better. And one thing I also want to do is here, this part. Here I want to make sure that this area with my trees, there's this little hill. They're hiding behind this little hill, and I want to highlight this a little bit. Like so. Yeah. Now it's already dangerous zone to work in here, so I won't go there. One thing we can do is, what I like to do is sprinkle some water here. Just see what we can do with this. Add some looseness here as well, so it looks like it sparkles. And I don't feel like adding those these little rocks, so I'm just removing them from my painting. I think that's already enough. Again, I need to work on these just letting go, just having fun, and like, okay, this is my painting, this is how it looks, let's move on with my life. And I'll be like, oh, I should have done this, and just, you know. Let's celebrate ourselves for just sitting here and painting. Could have also just continued saying that we don't have time, or it will take so long. Instead, we would actually sit down to paint, and it was fun just to put paint to paper and not be like, okay, it needs to be a masterpiece. And here we'll add some water, and I feel like whenever you add water to a drying area, it will push away the pigments and you create beautiful effects. Okay, this is how it looks. My camera just stopped recording for a second. If I apply some paint now, it will just sit there, so I don't want to ruin my loose transition. So this is how it looks. And I think that's all. Maybe I will add, okay, this is again me overdoing it, but I want to experiment a little bit and add this yellow here that I have here and sprinkle it on top as well. Maybe this will add some nice effect. All right, so this is how it looks. And now you can add a little bit of highlights here. This is already overdoing it again. There's this little path, I feel like, in this image. And for the rocks, if you want to add the rocks, you can also just lift some of the paint here. So I'm using a relatively clean brush and then just lifting some of the areas here. But again, this is, should stop. And the other thing is, sometimes we get so caught up, we are like, oh, I could be better, this is not good, this is, I don't know, and we always immediately go there and start being so negative. But think about how you can always, it can always be better. It can always be better. There's like no time where you're like, yes, this is perfect. Because you'll be, oh, I could have moved my brush in a different way here, or I could have used different colors here, or oh, looks off. But that's not the point. Like, the point is putting paint to paper, practicing, having fun, and just say to yourself, like I mentioned earlier, yes, it could be better, it can always be better, but I'm happy with the way it is now. And I'm already proud for myself that I sat down and painted something. So let's remove the tape. And also here I'm using Saunders Waterford 100% cotton paper. should have mentioned it earlier probably. But this is how it looks now. And the frame makes everything just stand out a lot more, I feel like. And the other thing is that we sometimes just need to allow ourselves to be open to different ways how to paint. Like you can see here, my trees look very abstract and very loose. There's a little bit of detail here and there, but it's very, very just wet, pretty much wet paint to wet paper, and everything's soft. And when you look up close, it looks very like, doesn't you feel like, what is this? But if you step back, then you get the whole picture. And I feel like this is the beauty of art, that it doesn't have to look a certain way. It doesn't have to take 5 hours to paint. You can just speed up the process by just allowing yourself to paint faster, allowing yourself that, or just opening your mind to the possibility that there's so many ways how you can paint something. It can look different every time. And you can even like think that some areas that you painted you love, maybe some areas you want to change later. So I feel like I could have added a little bit of bluish color here, so it's a little bit more bluish, but that's fine. Like there again, let's celebrate that we sat down and painted something, and I'm happy with the way it is now. And the paintings never have to look a certain way. Like they don't have to look like a photograph. The goal of an artist is to capture the atmosphere, to capture the feeling, and just make it their own. Like it's not your job is not to create another picture of the same reference image, not to copy it. Like you can just print it out and you're done. The goal is to really put yourself on paper, put your skills, put your personal style to it, and not copying the reference image or thinking that it needs to look a certain way. And because I love painting and I teach it, it's pretty much also my job. So sometimes I don't just paint for myself, I paint for teaching to someone and doing that. And sometimes you just need to take the time for yourself and just paint just for fun for yourself. Don't worry about how it looks, if it will be a perfect tutorial or it will be a perfect post for Instagram. Just sit down, paint something, have fun. And if you're someone who is an artist and you want to turn it into a career, but you're unsure what to do and can you actually make money with it, and what to think about when you want to turn it into an art career, in my next video I will talk about it. So I really hope it will be very valuable to you. I really hope you enjoyed this video and find it helpful. I really hope you take the moment to just sit down, set a timer and paint. Don't get caught up in all the details. Really practice this quick painting and having fun. Like don't feel like you need to spend a lot of hours. Train yourself to paint quickly. Don't get caught up in all the details, fixing stuff and worrying about some little details. Just put paint to paper and you'll be surprised how it will turn out. Because the more you are in your head, the more you try to make it look like a certain way, the more you are in your head, and just doesn't work out. Like you will be so much unhappier with your painting. But if your goal is just to paint, having fun, experiment, be loose with what you do, then you will love it so much more. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!